Man, I was riding her hard. I was like, wah, 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 and then boom, I blew out her undercarriage. I guess the moral of the story is the skid plates on a Talon aren't very good. Chad from Flash Performance working on my 2020 Honda Talon. This is an X4. This is a live valve, so it's a 4-seater. And I went down to a off-road park over the summer, and they have these humps in the middle of the trail. And it's actually for water runoff, to make that water run off and go down the hill instead of washing out the trail. Well, that also means that every time I go over that bump, my 4-seater bottoms out on that stupid hump, and it just tore the crap out of the bottom of my skid plate. As you can see, the skid plate's kind of hanging down. Not supposed to do that. So now if I have to back up, it's just a big old shovel and just packing mud up in the inside of the Talon. So it is a great day to replace the skid plates on the Talon. Yeah, I'm blessed. I have a lift to be able to do this on, but there's lots of options for doing this on the floor, or even I've seen people use their engine hoist to lift it up on one side or from the front to be able to get underneath it much, much easier. So use what you got. I'm going to show you how to install the Honda Talon skid plate system. This is from Super ATV. I'll put a link in the description below. This is a 1/2 inch thick, and it's going to be a way better solution than this cheap plastic stuff that I got from Talon from the factory. So let's get started. I do have some challenges ahead of me. Some of these bolts are actually broken off. I sheared them off somehow, probably going down a rock ledge or something. So I actually broke those off. So I'm going to take off the skid plate from the Talon and drop it all down, clean everything up, and then go through and figure out what is broken, what I need to extract, and then I will show you the Super ATV skid plate set, because this is a complete front to back skid plate set, and it's going to make this project a lot easier than trying to make it myself. To me, it was worth the investment. In order to take your skid plates off your Talon, you're going to be taking these bolts and washers out, and it's just a 10mm. So you're just going to use a 10mm impact to drive them out of there. They do have Loctite on them, so it takes a couple little hammer hits to be able to get them out. I'm using a tall jack stand underneath just to hold it up as I take all the hardware out. That way it doesn't fall on my face and I get a bunch of dirt in my hair. I'm trying to keep my hair looking nice. All right, let's get this taken out. I ordered the set of skid plates that's supposed to go from front to back on the Talon, so when they ship in 2 separate boxes, so it's not like one huge, super heavy box. So let's get them opened up and see what's inside. And one of them does say hardware included on the top here, so we want to make sure that we look for that hardware as well. Okay, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and a big old box of hardware. So they're going to replace all those washers, and they're going to give us much better hardware, is what it looks like. And it looks like there's actually some extra hardware in there that wasn't originally part of the cheapo factory stuff. So let's get the instructions and figure out how this thing is supposed to go together. I know I'm going to read the instructions. I want to do it right. I have printed off the instructions, and as you can see, all the pieces kind of fit together like a big puzzle. So this is going to be the back, covering the engine and all of the drivetrain, and then it just goes all the way up. And then this piece here is unique because this is not part of the factory set. So this one is actually an add-on that is going to be go right where the control arms are. So according to the instructions, you start at the front and work your way back. I'm not going to do that because this piece here that goes in the front, these are all holes that you have to drill. So how do we know exactly how that's going to key in to that second plate? So we're going to start here on the second plate, on plate B. We're going to mount that up first because all those holes are already in the rig. So we'll mount that, and then we'll key off of that one and put the front one on. So just make sure you follow the directions, because there are some special hardware for this setup. I got the underside of the Talon all cleaned up and washed off, just so there's no mud or any raised areas. I got to kind of check everything out and make sure that there was no issues. But there's something I wanted to point out. This is under the passenger seat. This is a huge void, a huge space that something could fit in. I have an idea of what I want to put in there. That big old space. So make sure that you give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, because that is going to be an interesting project. And I think there's going to be some cool stuff we're going to be able to fit in there. All right, let's get this mounted up. All right, I'm going to give you a full-on frontal view of everything I got going on, but I want to go through the hardware first. So you got your washers, those big washers. Those are inset into the skid plate, so you're not going to catch on those like you do on the factory one. The drill bit is actually included in the kit, and that is for the self-tappers for this front part here, because there's no holes there, so we have to tap those in. So drill first, and then use a self-tapper. And then you got two different size of bolts, two different lengths, and one comes with a shim and a spacer, so it will show you where to use that as well. So just separate all your hardware out, and the directions are really clear when you print them off of where all that stuff goes. So I have my stand here. I'm going to put the piece of skid plate on that, use that to hold it up, so I'm not trying to, gerrymander it up there. So let's get it up there. Now you'll notice that I didn't crank all these down, and that's because I still have other pieces to fit on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that so it shifts just a little bit, so I can put the rest of the pieces on, make sure they all fit together nice and tight, and then I'll come back through and crank all those down. So do that same thing like a bunch more times. On D, we have extra holes that are not drilled into the frame, so we're going to have to pre-drill those and then use the self-tappers in there. Again, at this point, I'm just kind of setting everything in and making sure it fits. I'm going to do the last ones without you, but I'm going to come back and go through and tighten everything up. When I do go through and tighten everything up, I'm also going to put anti-seize on every one of those bolts, because I know how the terrain that I drive on is, and they will get nastiness in them. So I will go ahead and do that and come right back to you. And that's a wrap. Super duper simple install. It took me, I'd say, a total of 2 hours to take off the original and put on this new Super ATV skid plate. And it's not very often that I get an aftermarket part and it just fits perfect. There's no issues. It just fits in. I don't have to modify anything. This one just absolutely worked out fantastic. So I am very pleased with this. I'm very pleased with the way it fits together. I'm very pleased with the hardware. Our holes line up for our oil drains and our other drains, so that's perfect as well. Thanks for joining me on this install, the Super ATV skid plate. This is a phenomenal product. Very happy with it. Very happy with my purchase and my investment, because I know it's going to protect my machine in the long run. So now I got to clean it up so I can go throw it in the dirt again next weekend. I'm Chad from Flash Performance. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.